Welcome back to another round, Basis Picks. Now look, David Morrell Jr. is fighting in the US tomorrow night, probably one of his hardest tests. The guy's Kazakhstanian. I can't pronounce the surname and I don't have it in front of me right now, so I'm not going to try, but I'm expecting him to kind of do the business there. Jason Rosario is also on that card, so should be a good one. Justice Suni's just fought in New Zealand earlier on today to a decision victory against Kiki Louis Opatilu, I think the name is. So yeah, some decent stuff's gone on, but you know what we're here for. It's ultimately all about Champion Series on the Zone, with Dimitri Bivol facing Gilberto Zurdo Ramirez for the WBA Light Heavyweight Championship, with Chantel Cameron fighting Jessica McCaskill for the Undisputed Super Lightweight Championship. And also, we've got Shavkat Rakhimov fighting Zelfa Barrett for the vacant Super Featherweight IBF Championship. So those are particularly the fights I will be talking about and how I see those ones breaking down. So we're going to go in reverse. First things first, shout outs to Galal Yafai, who I do expect to go to, what is it, 4-0, I think this is his fourth fight now, it's third or fourth. I'm expecting that to be a fun, entertaining fight. Cal Yafai is coming back after 2.5 years out of the ring, following the defeat to Chocolatito Gonzalez, so that'll be a good one also. But let's get into this. I want to kind of get through this one quickly. Got a couple things I need to do. Weigh-ins happened not long ago, so right, I think it was a ceremonial weigh-in as well, because not a lot of people were stripping down to their underwear to make the weight, so I've got to assume they'd done the weigh-ins earlier in the day. That being said, let's start from the bottom and work our way to the top. So Shavkat Rakhimov versus Zelfa Barrett. Now initially this should have been Joe Cordina defending his title, but we all know he broke his hand first day of sparring, unfortunately. Pretty horrendous break, so he had surgery. He will be fighting the winner of this fight sometime next year, probably March, April time. Here's how I see this one going. Now Zelfa Barrett is he's a good domestic level fighter, good European sort of level fighter. He's very good on the counter. He will sort of look to try and pull Shavkat Rakhimov into counters. He'll try to sort of stay on the back foot and use sort of hard punching to deter Rakhimov from sort of entering in, and then basically just trying to time him and pick him off. I think he will be trying to implement uppercuts as well within this, but his problem is that he's not a very busy fighter. He's gonna look to, like I said, counter punch. He's gonna look to be on the back foot. Rakhimov customarily isn't necessarily a pressure fighter, but he will look to impose himself within Zelfa's space at all times within this fight. Zelfa doesn't like to be rushed. He doesn't like to fight at a pace that he doesn't control. The hardest task he had with that was probably with Kiko Martinez, even though Martinez was, up, what was he? He was probably up 3 weight divisions initially from where he was previously, even though he's back down at 126 at the minute. So, the way I kind of see this one going, long and the short of it, I think Zelfa's gonna be competitive, especially towards the opening half of the fight. But I think having to, go through the gears necessarily and just have to work when he doesn't want to work, he's going to be pushed a lot by Rakhimov, who's used to fighting in more high altitude places. So I do believe we'll have the better gas tank overall. I can see him kind of getting on top of Zelfa like towards the mid to late rounds. I'm not wholeheartedly predicting a stoppage victory, but I'm not ruling out that a stoppage could be seen between rounds 8 and 10. If it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen between those rounds, in my opinion. But I do think that he's gonna land and hurt Zelfa multiple times in this fight, to where Zelfa may go into more of a survival mode throughout points, and ultimately, if he does make it to the end, probably end up like a 116, 112 type affair. I kind of hope I'm wrong. It would be nice to see Zelfa and Pat sort of, you know, get the job done. But I haven't seen enough of him at the kind of level that Rakhimov has operated at for me to suggest that he is going to do anything other than lose in a spirited effort. So yeah, my prediction is Rakhimov. I'm going to respect Zelfa and I'm going to say Rakhimov on points. So that's where I'm going. It's going to be decision, and yeah, anything other than that will be a blessing with regards to that one. Right, now arguably fight of the night, Chantel Cameron versus Jessica McCaskill. Now Chantel is the IBF and WBC, the IBF and the WBC and Ring Magazine champ. The vacant WBA and WBO titles are on the line. So how do I see this one playing out? I feel as if Chantel Cameron makes this fight as easy or as hard as she wants to. Now, we've all seen Jessica McCaskill. She hasn't particularly like evolved as a fighter since her sort of first couple of fights up until now. She's smart in what she does, but in terms of like, you know, the layers and the dimensions, you know, having 1 or 2 or 3 different game plans, ultimately she is a pressure fighter. She is a textbook pressure fighter, high level pressure, very educated, but ultimately will just throw and throw and throw and aim for 1 to 2 of her combination punches to get through, even if you manage to block the other 2, 3 or 4. That is her plan, that's her game plan. She's got a very good engine, so that is how she operates. Chantel Cameron, a little bit more nuanced. She can box, she can move, she does like to stand and trade as well. She's probably pound for pound got more power than Jessica, but Jessica, I think, lands the more effective shots overall, especially when obviously you've got your opponent guarded up, and you're able to sort of, you know, you're able to actually just throw in volume and get those shots to connect when a person is not expecting it at that particular moment, where Chantel Cameron's a lot more of a sort of like a 1-2, maybe a 1-2-3 type puncher, whereby it might be a bit easier for you to brace for the shots overall, because you can kind of read the pattern of where they're coming from, and even if, you know, they are hurting, you're able to sort of, yeah, brace for that. Now ultimately I feel like Chantel needs to remain calm in this fight. She can't just want to stand and trade. Ultimately that was the only way that she gave Mary McGee success, even though Mary obviously was coming off of the knee injury initially, but Mary had all the success when they just stood and traded with each other. I do think that McCaskill hits harder than McGee does, and she's been campaigning at a slightly higher weight as well, so she is technically used to, you know, being in there with bigger girls, whereas you know, Cameron has kind of had people similar weight to her, or people coming up from 135, even though technically she's always said she's a 135er that's ate herself to 140 and can still get back down there as well. So ultimately, I think the safe option and the option that makes the most sense based on both styles is Chantel Cameron to employ smart movement where necessary, to stand and trade in spurts, probably towards the mid to late rounds, just to maybe secure 1 or 2 rounds whereby she's not showing that she's backing off or being pushed into corners or backed up onto the ropes, for effective aggression from Jessica McCaskill. So I do predict that Chantel Cameron will win this fight on points. She's not gonna hit Jessica with anything that will, you know, drop her, give her the flash knockdown similar to how she did in her earlier fights just before the Katie Taylor one, in the 4-rounder. So I don't see any flash knockdowns happening. I can definitely see Cameron getting hit with something that wobbles her at some point, especially during one of those trade exchanges, but I think she will come through this, and her old kickboxing background, the taekwondo background, I think will lead her in good stead to be able to absorb and, you know, take any hard shots that do come through. So yeah, the prediction is Chantel Cameron on points, and the new undisputed, probably leading to a Katie Taylor fight that she's been dying for. Well, okay, technically she hasn't been dying for it, but it's a fight that she's wanted for years, and it definitely would make sense for Katie somewhere down the line if the Amanda Serrano fight can't be made, or even after that, who knows. All right, now main event time. Dimitri Bivol versus Zurdo Ramirez. Right, so here's how we have to look at this fight. So as much as Zurdo Ramirez is the bigger guy, the taller guy, rangier guy, and I guess he sort of balloons up to that 200-pound limit, or he has done in the past. I don't know if he was actually going to end up being 200 pounds on fight night for this fight, because that will probably play a lot more into Dimitri Bivol's hands. Bivol's biggest quality, outside of the fact he's got very good footwork and movement, and very good sort of punch selection, you know, from the 1-2, the 1-2-3 type offense that he operates in, is the fact that he's extremely calm under pressure. There's nothing that Zurdo Ramirez is going to be able to do that's going to unsettle him or make him panic. Now, Zurdo's got very, very good body punching capabilities, but he also has to be incredibly close to his opponent to do that. Being the taller guy, you would think that he would try and employ the jab and try and keep it a bit longer range, especially in the early stages, so that Dimitri's got to find a way to get inside his range to implement his style. However, Zurdo's straight punches are not actually that great. So he's definitely going to be looking to close the distance to get mid-range to inside, so that he can work the body, so that he can employ hooks from the southpaw stance. This is probably where he's going to come unstuck, purely because Dimitri Bivol is much faster than he is. He's also used to fighting guys that are much bigger than him, and whereas Zurdo has always been the biggest guy in the fight, Dimitri Bivol has naturally been fighting bigger guys for a lot longer, so he knows how to handle them. He'll use his footwork. He'll constantly be turning Zurdo Ramirez throughout this fight, so he's not going to be able to plant his feet to really dig those body shots in or those hooks upstairs. Whenever Dimitri does end up on the ropes or backed up, his guard is always pretty good, pretty tight. He can take a good shot. And again, the fact he will be calm and composed, even if he does take a good shot, none of them are ever he's not gonna panic, so that he's not gonna end up opening up and causing opportunities for Zurdo to provide another big shot. So realistically, I see the movement is going to be a very big issue for Zurdo, because he's not the quickest on his feet. He's going to be plodding, he's going to constantly be turning, he's not going to be allowed often to set his feet to really dig the shots in. I think Dimitri Bivol is going to outland him in virtually every round. I don't think there's ever been a fight. I think there's an actual stat saying within the last 5 years, he's never been outlanded in a round in any fight. So he will be busy enough, he will do enough in every round to make sure he secures victory. I don't think he's going to go for the kill and, you know, attempt to take Zurdo out. He's very much pragmatic these days. It's safety first. It's do enough to win the fight and on to bigger and better things. And I think that mentality is what keeps him so efficient. He doesn't give enough openings for his opponents to really, you know, sort of get their work off. The only person that is going to give any kind of trouble in that sense of making you have to constantly work will be someone like Artur Beterbiev. So my prediction is Dimitri Bivol on points in a quite comfortable points victory. There might be one or two sticky moments, but we're looking at a 117, 111 type fight. The closest this fight is going to end up being is 116, 112. I just don't think Ramirez is gonna do much, and you know, we might even get to a situation where he's like 6, 7, 8 rounds down on the cards. He's a bit too heavy, he's blowing. He could end up retiring in the corner. It could be one of those ones. Now, I don't think that will happen, because Mexicans are very proud, but stranger things have happened. You know, when you're not used to not being and having things your own way, sometimes you do erratic things. So we'll see, but that's my prediction. So overall, I've got Rakhimov going points with Zelfa Barrett. I've got Chantel Cameron getting points with Jessica McCaskill, and I've got Dimitri Bivol getting points with Zurdo Ramirez. Let me know what your predictions are down in the comments, and thank you for watching. Let's see who's right, and let's see how things pan out. But for right now, Basis Picks locked.